Welcome to Catholic Education Matters, the podcast that celebrates the beauty of Catholic education. Join us as we share the stories of those making a lasting impact on Catholic education. Let's begin. Hello, everybody. We're here today with my friend, newly elected MLA in the South Surrey White Rock area, Brent Chapman. Brent, welcome.
Thank you very much. The MLA for Surrey South.
For Surrey South, that's the official name for it.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So, and this is you have this is new for you.
It is relatively well. Yeah. I have a wife who's in politics, and I've followed her quite closely over the years. And needless to say, but Carrie and I got involved in an issue that was quite political back in the 1990s. And it was the Musqueam leaseholders situation that happened in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. And so I got a real sort of a crash course in how politics works and who runs what and who does what. Right. I mean, there's so much for me to learn still. And I feel that every time I walk into Victoria, that it feels like a bit of a, kind of a bit of a madhouse. But it's so august and so kind of regal almost. But you know that there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. Yeah. And you just get the sense that, that's where the action happens. So I'm still learning about that. But I did have an understanding how the media ties into politics and how politics can separate itself and how it gets into the community. And because prior to that, I think, we all kind of think, well, you vote and you watch some stuff on TV, and how deep do you really get in, a story that kind of bothers you. Yep. But when you're in the middle of that whirlwind, and the media's that's normally talking to a politician is now talking to you, you really get a different viewpoint of things. And and am I jaded a bit in some ways? Probably, a little bit. And kept that, and maybe that's part of a little bit of my cynicism sometimes when I look at all this. But I really felt for myself, and my wife said to me, is it time for you to run? Because I'm always probably at times more political than she is, and she says, "Is it time for you to run?" I said, "Yeah, I think I'd like to do that now."
There you go. And for those of us, of you that have joined us, your wife's Carrie Lynn Finlay, right? So she's MP. Right. For the South Surrey White Rock area.
That's right.
Yes. So, and she's been at that for a while now.
Well, she was the MP for Delta Richmond East, it was called, which was Tsawwassen, Ladner, and Steveston, all the way up to Hamilton. And so that was her first riding. She was a cabinet minister under Harper. She did quite well. But she came back, and the opportunity was there to run in Surrey South. I had always wanted to live in Surrey. Yep. To be honest, I really quite liked it. Ladner was fantastic, but we actually lived on a street, and when we moved there, it was really quiet. It was really nice, right? And then they started to develop at the end of the block, like a lot. And next thing you know, our street was like a thoroughfare, and it went to be where, like, once we hit about 9 o'clock at night, the neighborhood shut down. But now it was like 3 a.m, and traffic's building up, and all of a sudden you realize what you can hear.
So you moved out this way?
And though I had a wonderful time, people in Ladner are wonderful. It's a wonderful community.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. Yeah. Beautiful area.
And up in Tsawwassen.
One of our feeder schools is Sacred Heart.
Right.
And we're they're a bit of an orphan school because they're sort of out there in the middle of nowhere, and it's like everywhere. Every high school is a ways away. Every Catholic high school is a ways away. So
Bill Vanderzam's close.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. He's right there. That's his parish. So you and I met in kind of a funny way.
Yes.
It was at a coffee shop at Blends. Do you remember?
Right. Yeah, I remember. I was just telling somebody you were wearing a T-shirt. That we were like, hey, look at that guy. Well, first off, you cut quite a figure when you walk in a room anyway, so it's quite a swath. And we're all like, who's this guy here? He's a giant. He's handsome, and all of a sudden I go, look at his shirt. Look at that. What? Oh, and it was something about lions.
It says lions, not sheep.
Lions, not sheep. And we were like, oh, yeah, this. We have to meet this guy. Meet that guy. And I don't know if I said something.
It was you.
Was it me? Yeah.
And you're not shy.
No, I'm not shy at all. And then we realized, of course, I have a background. I broadcast football at SFU for a while. Right. And then I got to know all the guys there. And Steve Harrison, who played at UBC in that 82 championship team, I think it was.
Yeah, 82.
And so I got to hang out there. But Jordan Gagne, who was quarterback for your team, worked at a theater as a security. And I got to know him through that. And so I got to know Jordan. I'm trying to think if I met him somewhere else before. But so I got to know Jordan. And I actually worked out at UBC for a while when I was about 26. and kind of toyed with the idea of thinking, could I go as a mature student? I was a decent punter. And I thought, maybe I might do this. And then I was running a quick inside pattern, and I put my hand up, and the guy behind me was a good DB. I forget his name. I think it was Mark. Was it Mark Mahaden? Is that the right name?
Yeah.
And he and no fault of his. He just gave me a little bump, but my hand went like this to like this, and the ball went straight onto my.
Oh,
onto
ouch.
my and two of them were like just like bent and funny, and it's funny. Like I got hit by a car as a kid. I don't think anything hurt me as much as those fingers. I was like, holy cow.
I've had that.
Oh yeah,
I've had that.
And that
with
for,
a football.
Yeah, for you kept going. I couldn't recover. I had to move on. No,
that happened for me in grade 10 or something like that.
I feel like a failure at 26. But I was sweating. I was sweating. It was terrible. But I got to know Jordan and the guys, and he was, and Jordan's a great human being. Wonderful.
He was a St. Thomas More grad as well.
Yeah,
he went to high school.
Well, it's so the football world kind of got around it a little bit. Played a little bit of flag football, and just got to know some of the. Played touch for quite a while, but more the football guys seem to go around flag more. There's more a place for them.
So after that funny meeting, we kept bumping into each other at the same coffee shop, and then, shot the breeze there many a times.
Yes,
and over a couple of years. Because it was in COVID when we
must have been met. Shortly thereafter. Yeah.
And then you decided to run, which is great. A few of us rallied around you there.
Absolutely,
got my vote.
Yeah, thank you.
And many others. So it was an easy win for you there in South Surrey.
Yeah, it really sort of restored my faith in community in the community.
Yeah,
that my message kind of got hampered a bit. But it wasn't. I mean, people still saw through it and saw what they wanted. And it's not so much, I felt not so much me, but more what our party was representing.
Yeah.
And that people wanted that, people in that area. Because you drive around every day, you walk around every day, and you think, we're not like we were years ago where you kind of connected with people. We're really quite disconnected right now. And I don't like it. I like, I love talking to people and connect, because I felt that's the way I grew up.
Yeah.
But now, I don't feel people are on that same wavelength, but maybe it gives me an understanding, saying that there's 13,000 people that maybe are looking at things more the way I see it, or we see it.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling.
Yeah. It is a good feeling, because it's in life in general, there's a ditch on both sides of the road. We've been in a ditch for quite a while, I think, and almost going deeper into that ditch on the one side of the road for a while, and people are starting to wake up to it a little bit, and they're starting to go, hey, what's going on with society here? There's, up is down, left is right, and nothing is sacred anymore, and it's kind of troubling.
I always say that there's sort of a difference. I think people right now, mad is one thing. We're all mad. People get mad.
Yeah.
But I think what we really are is, and we're not even angry as much as we're frustrated. That the changes that have been made are frustrating men, they're frustrating women, and they're pushing people just too hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're looking at, if we allow this to fester, it is really a revolution that's taking place right now, where you're you're reimagining our natural sort of selves, which is ridiculous. But people have finally found a way, and I think they saw this in the Conservative Party of British Columbia, a chance for them to put the tap the brake.
Yeah.
To say this isn't the way we want to
live. We're going a little too fast. Yeah. Which is what conservatism's all about.
Or not maybe too fast, but maybe just down the wrong road.
Yeah.
Period. Because here's the other side of it. It's not like everything's fantastic. It's not like we're going down the road and we're standing here stubborn, saying, no, we want to just stay right here where we are because your guys are going off in such a great direction. It's not working.
Yeah.
And we were assured that all these great initiatives and all this sort of relaxed attitude towards things were going to make it better for us, and we'd have a happier life, and everyone would be happy. But we're not.
No, we're
People
not.
aren't happy.
No.
I had a person walk up to me before I was even running, and they said that when it comes to Soji, and he was saying that my daughters don't want to go to school anymore. He said they're 15 and 11. I wasn't even running. I hadn't said that I was running yet.
Yeah.
And he said to me, just out of the blue, my daughters don't want to go to school. He said they're so tired of this conversation, they don't want to have it anymore.
Wow.
And so when you start getting that, unsolicited, complaint of someone saying, no, I don't like this, and he was basically making conversation of how disappointed he was.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's alone.
No, it's scary. Well, when suicide of our youth is way off the charts, drug overdoses are way off the charts. You know, they were way higher than any COVID deaths were during COVID.
Yeah.
And that was we just chose to ignore that. You know, it wasn't something that was put in the front, you know, like during COVID was, you know, if it just saves one life, which is noble, but, it's not practical. It doesn't make sense,
No.
you know, and, but when it comes to the drug overdoses and how it's being, I don't know, flamed by our current provincial government, if I might say so myself, and all but encouraged, you know, it's going down a road of destruction in really fast, and that's that ditch we're just talking about, or one of the things in that ditch that we were just talking about as well.
And I think when you push to something as personal as sexuality and come up with a one size fits all, and that's where we get into danger. And this is not to have any lack of compassion for people who struggle with their identity or struggle with their sexuality, but for us to say, I mean, I've said this. I said this in my campaign. It's not necessarily a policy of our party. But what I would like to see as an individual, as a citizen, if I'm not unelected, let's just say, but I think that we have to find a way to have better counseling, right? Let's restore a base to what our schools are teaching, right? Yep. And then when the kids have these issues, let them go to a good counselor, let the parents be brought in. But maybe, you know, I said, why not have an evening, you know, every month where the parents sit down with the counselors and the counselor gives a presentation of what's the latest, you know, psychological, you know, sort of thoughts and teachings and understandings on these particular issues, and let the parents decide what it is, you know, what they're going to do. And I was going to save this for later, but truthfully I firmly believe that if someone said to me once that parents know best, I don't think parents do know best. We want to, we try our best, but we don't really know what's best, because you can see that where you have some people have, you know, 6 kids, and you know, one's in jail, and one's a doctor, and they all in different directions, because your children are all different. You get a different hand with every kid. It's not the same hand of cards. So you don't know how to play them exactly. And so, but what we do know as parents is we know we're responsible. So we'll try our best, but we know at the end of the day, if our child's 28 years old and they're falling apart and their life's having a struggle, they're coming home, and you're going to help them put things back together again. But they're not going to go look for their grade 9 history teacher. They're coming to you. Right. That grade 9, all those teachers, no disrespect for that period of life that they're with our kids. God bless them for doing what they do. But once that's over, pretty much over. They're coming home. Exactly. So we're going to deal with whatever these people have instilled in our children. So I think that's where parents must have a say, and it has to be regarded. I think.
I couldn't agree more. There's things that just shouldn't be in the school, and there's things that are happening that are sexualizing kids and we're permanently damaging them. We're making permanent decisions when they are in their teens, in their early teens, that are going to affect them for their entire lives. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, when I was in high school, I was a different person than I was today, and I was thinking about a lot of different things that I do today. And I had a hell of a lot to learn. I still have a hell of a lot to learn. But to make some of those life-changing decisions back then that they're doing right now is just, to me, it's appalling. It's not that it's same as you were alluding to in terms of compassion. It's not about that. I mean, we can be compassionate and still steer people in the right direction. There is truth. There is basics that need to be followed, you know.
Well, I think you make a good point there, though. It's almost like, okay, let's just say that we're going to do it their way, but we cut it off at the permanent side. And there's nothing we do that would be permanent. Everything we do, maybe we're going to manage this, this ideation or the feelings that they have. We're going to sort of manage them, but we're not going to go to where we're, you know, giving pills and we're changing, you know, we're hormone blockers and all these things, because those are not reversible. Right. So maybe there's a way we can, if we were to manage that. I'm not sure if I would be happy with it all, but I would be satisfied that it's something that can be undone.
It can be undone.
Right. Or we can work around. And typically, how many times, God, there's guys that you went to school with who would walk around with a football in their hand, who swore they were going to be professional football players. And it wasn't, maybe not even for a lack of talent, but all of a sudden one day they realize that's not what they want to do. And next thing you know, they're a dentist. So I mean, exactly. Imagine if you basically changed them and started putting them on steroids when they were,
Yeah.
13 to bulk them up to play football or something. I'm not saying that guys do that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
No.
you give them some, and the damage that would be caused by
Exactly.
that, and how do you undo it?
That's a great analogy. I had never thought of that way, but yeah, it's more damaging what we're doing. It's permanent, even more than what steroids. Giving steroids to a 14-year-old, you think, well, that's ludicrous. Who would do that? That's the most. But this person identifies as a football player. That's all they want to do is play football, and so we have to nurture that.
Yeah, exactly.
So here are the drugs if you want to be a football player. Not
That's right.
Football players do drugs, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, to make sure. To make sure that's what they want. We'll get you going now.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
so, and those examples are endless. Like, I mean, we can just go down so many different roads with that.
So then I guess the question is you think this seems very reasonable? I think we've taken, just in discussing here, we're very good, both of us, I have to agree. No, we've come with a reasonable sort of solution to say that this is a way we could deal with this, and even yielding to their idea that everyone has these desires or these wants.
They need proper help.
But my thing is, why doesn't that work? Why can't we even have a discussion about this? We can't even talk about it.
No, yeah.
And that's one of my point is that now we're having this reasonable discussion here, but why can't we go to the NDP and these education people and say, hey, hang on. We just want to slow this, tap the brakes.
Yeah.
We're going to bring this back a little bit so we don't start any fire that we can't put out.
No, exactly. That's permanent. That to me should be off the table. Right, not even
Well, you can't kids can't get tattooed. I mean, we've heard this 100 times, but kids can't get tattoos, and they can't get all kinds of decisions they can't make at that age.
No, they can't drink alcohol, they can't drive cars, they can't smoke, they can't. All of these things, all these regulations that get put on them. But a tattoo is permanent, or relatively speaking, permanent. And so you're not.
So what psychologists are we listening to? If we listen to professionals, it begs the question. I know psychologists who don't go along with this.
Yeah.
Why don't they have a voice of reason? I'm not sure. So it's something that our party is definitely wants to remove this from school. That it's not appropriate for schools.
Yeah. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that.
Not the counselors would not deal with it and should be.
No,
they need
the
resources to deal with it.
It will come up.
That's right.
Absolutely, it's still going to come up.
Right.
But the way dealing with it, embracing a child that says I'm a cat today and putting a litter box down, we're not doing that kid any favors, in my humble opinion. Not a psychiatrist. But just as a human on this planet, I don't see feeding into that as being helpful. Which brings us around to in our original meeting, which we spoke at or when we first met. I don't know how it came up, but people ask, what I do and, how I'm involved. And one of the things that I've been involved with from day one is championing this high school, the new high school, St. John Paul II Academy in South Surrey, which is in your catchment. It's in your area.
Yes.
So, and your wife, Carrie Lynn, was at our groundbreaking ceremony there when we first, and that was just over or under 2 years ago now. And we've been a year and a half at it, and our new school is going to be open September, this coming fall, 2025. So we're really excited about that. One of our feeder schools, unofficially, but it's most naturally going to be our biggest feeder school, will be Star of the Sea, which is in South Surrey.
Yeah.
Yep. And why I'm bringing that up is because that school is exploding as well. Just last year there was only 20 spots available in kindergarten. There's 60 available, but 40 were taken up by siblings. 20 spots available, and there was 140 families applying for those 20 spots at Star of the Sea. One of the biggest things that came up is families are concerned about what's being taught in the public schools in that regard, which we were just speaking of, and they're just like I can't deal with that. It's gone over the line. And so I'm happy to hear that our Conservative Party is looking at trying to remove that even out of the public schools. It doesn't affect me, doesn't affect my family, it affects society.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of troubled people on the planet that need help, that we should get help. We're a compassionate society. We that our healthcare system is based on that as well, that everybody has it. You're qualified as a Canadian citizen, you get healthcare from it. And psychological help is one of those things that, families, they need to have access to for their kids as well. One of the things that's really important that I think is that our society started out, it was based on and founded on Judeo-Christian values.
Mm-hmm.
And we have gotten away from it. Not only have we gotten away from it, I mean, people have fallen away from the faith. And that's happened sort of gradually over time. And then it's almost like we're on this bell curve that's just going straight up right now in terms of removing Christianity
Mm-hmm.
from society, and not realizing that our laws, our morals, that we're not born with them, we are taught them. And this is something that has come from the church. And they become part of our law, in our makeup of society. And a lot of us just think, oh, well, that's how it is. It's innate. It's in us to be kind. But no, it isn't. It's actually, we need to be taught these things. If you've seen two toddlers fighting over a toy, right away, you have to jump in and say, okay, no, this isn't how that works. And how did that make you feel, and what have you? So this isn't something that's just naturally born in us.
Well, like a friend of mine said, when you have a baby, an infant, and you care for them, you cuddle them, and you hold them, and you swaddle them, and you have them all day long. And every time they cry, you pick them up.
Right.
Then they turn 2 years old, and they turn into like little hellions. You think, well, exactly. What went wrong? I mean, what did I do wrong? But because by nature we are not necessarily great people. We can be we can be quite demonstrative when we need to be. It's a funny thing. I always think that Christianity or even the church, but the Catholics were a big part of this country forming. Mm-hmm. I mean, more priests died out there and were killed by attacks by enemies, and I mean the priests were on the front line, but they were the hospital. That was your the nurse and the doctor, and they were your educators, and they were your counselors, and there was a community center, and the church was everything to these towns right across the country. It doesn't happen without them.
Right.
But I feel like it's like a car that you take from Toronto to Vancouver. And you get to Vancouver and you jump out of the car and you roll it down the hill and say, I'm done with it. It's going in the river. I don't need it anymore. Yeah. So yeah, but it got you here. Yeah, but I don't need it anymore. You're going to need a car. Yeah. You're going to need that vehicle to keep moving around the way you are. Yeah. And people do think that they can kind of just throw it all away. Mm-hmm. I will say this, that the people that have come to our country, and I think most of immigrants who weren't Christian, mm-hmm. actually admired the Christianity and the faith that we had as people. Right. I don't think they were offended by it at all. No. I think liberals are offended by it. Mm-hmm. I think academics get offended by it. Mm-hmm. No one's more offended by the Catholic Church than academics. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just bothers them. Mm-hmm. But in running, I went to this really, like I'm a little jealous of, the Sikh faith. I mean, they do things as a community that mm-hmm. we just don't do anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was these lovely women who met in a backyard. They looked like they were probably from about 45 to maybe 80. And they had a big circle, and they would sing songs, and they would have this chai tea, and they were just mm-hmm. wonderful gathering. There were not many men present. There were no men in the group at all. Yeah. So I came to talk to them, and I sort of said, I was born and raised Catholic. I mm-hmm. was baptized and confirmed, mm-hmm. and that's my religious background. Mm-hmm. There wasn't one that turned their nose up. They were straight. Oh, good, okay, you have values, right? You things matter to you. Yeah. And listen, and we all stray and we all make mistakes along the way. Mm-hmm. But how do you know you're making a mistake unless you've been taught in the first place what it means to not do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't find any people that I met. There was not one that was questioning, and I was open about what I said. Yeah, they were all perfectly fine with that. Yeah, but because I think they know that without the belief in a higher power, mm-hmm. really, then it's just you. Yeah. It's you making up your mind on everything.
It's nothing.
Well, yeah, but it's not only that. Maybe it's worse than that. It's just humans deciding what's right and wrong. There is no sort of immutable truth that they stand behind. Yeah. I was thinking about that. Who are our religious leaders? Is Christ not the great teacher? Right. He's a teacher.
And that's respected across all faiths.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or majority of it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And I look at, I've been to a number of Sikh weddings, which is another thing where the weddings are gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
They're and it's this giant community, and everyone's a cousin of somebody else.
Yeah, it's like they're 2 weeks long.
Yeah,
and
So, but it's fantastic celebration of family. But you start reading the writings of the gurus, and you go, oh, wait a minute, we're not too far off here.
No,
we can coexist here pretty good.
Totally.
And
a lot of it's been learned. It's not. It's only like a 500-year-old religion, somewhere like
about
that.
600. Yeah, 600 years. Yeah. And but a wonder,
Yeah.
And I talked to
the Catholic school system is big in India as well. There's many Indians that were educated in the Catholic school system there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So just another tidbit in case you're on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I was talking to someone last night. They were talking about Archbishop Carney in the 90s and just getting onto the idea of Catholic schools. And apparently Bill Vander Zalm offered him, they were not funded at all. He said, I'll give you up to 80%. And he said, give us 50.
Right.
Because he said, if you give us any more, you'll start to tell us what to do.
Yeah. It's funny.
That was brilliant.
I was going to talk to you about that today because I'm mixed on that too, because right now we get 50% funding for those that don't understand how it works. As long as we are operating as a Catholic school, as long as you're operating at the same per student rate,
right?
So all your operating expenses, your educators, the biggest thing is salaries, teacher salaries.
Right.
As long as you're operating at the same rate, you will get 50% funding from the government just for operating. So that's got nothing to do with the infrastructure. Not like we're spending $120 million building a new school, of which there's zero government funding.
That's yours, yeah.
Zero. So even the civil work, the offsite civil work is paid for by the school. It's not funded by so all the roads around the school, traffic lights, all that is paid by the school. So, but 50% of the as long as we operate at the same level as the local public schools, we'll get 50% funding. There's been threats in the past from NDP governments to take that away.
Yeah.
There's been wonder if we would ever get like Alberta, where you get 100% funding for operating.
Yeah.
Because there you get to choose whether or not your kids want to go to a Catholic school or public, and you can actually choose where your taxes, I believe, go to. Your school taxes.
Is it a voucher system? Is that really what it is?
I believe so, yeah. Something like that. So, so the Catholic schools are free there in Alberta. So unlike here, we got to pay because we got to make up for that tuition that we're not getting from the taxpayer. Even though, so we're 100% tax benefit to society. We're not a tax burden in any way, shape, or form. So the new high school that's being built right now, today, zero tax dollars are going into it. And in fact, it saves the government and society in general, saves money because they're not having to pay for all of the infrastructure, which is in the hundreds of millions to build a new school. And they're not having to pay for, only paying for half the tuition.
Yeah, they would have to build more schools.
They'd have
if
to
you
build
didn't
more
have
schools.
them. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and right now there's over 50 Catholic schools in the Lower Mainland here. So that's taking a lot of burden, billions it takes away from the taxpayers that they wouldn't normally have to pay for. So that's a huge benefit. But it's funny, like what you mentioned about what Archbishop Carney said, no, we'll only take 50. We'll take 50. And it's like, yeah, because if you take 100, now Ontario, all of a sudden you start really dictating. Yeah, and Ontario's got problems right now too, where you start saying, no, the government stepping in and said, no, we want you to do this, or we want you to do that, we want you to do this. So the same thing goes for right now the St. Paul's. It's a Catholic hospital. And so it's being rebuilt under Providence Healthcare, and which is the biggest non-BC, non-government healthcare.
Right.
There's a few of the churches. What is it in Burnaby or in Vancouver? Mount St. Joseph's, I believe.
Yes, St. Joseph's, yeah.
So that's another Providence Healthcare facility. So the new church that's being built, the new hospital that's being built in Vancouver right now, the church that owned the property in Vancouver and sold it, and they've donated $1 billion to the new St. Paul's Hospital, which virtually nobody knows about. Nobody even knows. It's like, why would the church even do that? And the reason why they did that, speaking with Archbishop, one of the reasons why, is that there won't be abortions in that hospital. So you can't go there for abortion. The tougher one to keep out is MAID right now. Those two things are that's why I like to say we've got governments of death right now on both sides, coming and going. We're trying to get rid of people, which is very sad. But I think it's very noble that the church put their money where their mouth is in terms of saying, yeah, you know what? Okay, here's $1 billion on property that we had purchased forever ago, eons ago. It's worth $1 billion today. You take it, no abortions in there. That's the main condition of it. So, which is huge, which is massively huge. When we hear of private investors like Jimmy Pattison that donated $100 million, which is unbelievable, or 75 or 100 million, somewhere in there, towards that, to have a private citizen say, hey, look, I'm going to put up that much towards St. Paul's. I believe in healthcare and the healthcare system is huge. And to have the church come up with $1 billion is also, I think, is massive as a step in the right direction to just to say, because the abortion issue, I know it's touchy for a lot of people. I'm very strong. I'm Catholic. We don't do abortions in our family. In fact, had I believed in abortions, this new high school that we're building right now, which is going to house up to 900 students. It'll be there for the next 100 years, educating people, giving them a great moral background. It wouldn't have been built if I believed in abortion, because my youngest daughter with Down syndrome wouldn't have been born. And, that story, I've told it many a times, but that school, when I stand outside, look at the construction, I stand up with my little daughter and I point, I said, had you not been born, this would have been built. And my wife, she was adopted. And her birth mother put her up for adoption. She was a young mother and was out of wedlock. And back then, she had said she had made the choice of life for her daughter. So my wife is here today to give birth to our daughter, and both of them were put in. Both of them were, put in. Their lives were put in jeopardy. With the whole abortion thing. So that school wouldn't have been born, or that wouldn't have been built had my wife's birth mom not chose life.
Right.
You know, like these types of things, like you just don't know what you're saying no to when you're terminating a pregnancy.
Yeah, it's such a contentious, beyond contentious issue. Yeah. My thought on it is that from a political standpoint, the people are going to have to want that change.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it was sort of foisted on us in a sense, and now we're going to have the people are going to have to come up and say, okay, we don't want that. But I really believe that sincerely, that the higher we raise the level of our morality, but I mean, if we have a more positive society and we start to work on that, I think less and less you will even need abortions. I think as people live better lives. But my 100%. Thing is this: is to say, look, do that, you do it. I can't. Currently, we can't stop anything, and I accept that aspect of it. But why can't we have more pro family? Why don't we make it easier for mothers in crisis? Why don't we have it easier to have a baby, easier to raise a family? Yeah. In Hungary right now, if a woman has 3 children, she doesn't pay any more taxes in her life.
Wow. There's a bonus. Yeah.
So it's, I mean, you need people. You got to have people. Let's find a way to do this, and let's that's truly a last resort. Yeah. And let's move to a positive society.
Exactly.
And get that back. But the MAID thing is another one that I can't wrap my head around it. I find that it's so shocking to see where we're at. And there's absolutely, you understand that there are people who are suffering horribly from the pain of cancers and long drawn out deaths, and that are quite terrible. And I get that. I understand that. I don't understand much else about it. No. That's about the only one where I go, that might be something where there's I mean, hey, as it is now, we give people incredible painkillers. Yeah. So and then they slowly die out. And I for whatever opinion. Mm-hmm. But the other ones I don't understand. You hear these horror stories of people who are lonely. They're lonely.
I'm not contributing to society anymore. I'm this or I'm that, or I don't. And this comes full circle back to, once again, we're getting rid of Christianity in the West. We're getting rid of that. So what that causes, there's a problem there. What that leads down to is the family. So because we're getting rid of our faith, now the family's crumbling apart. And when the family crumbles, now society crumbles as well, because you've allowed all kinds of mess to get in there, all kinds of mumbo jumbo to get in there.
Yeah.
And it's this, and it's getting amplified more and more and more the further we go from that. And people are waking up to it and going like, you know what, we've gone way too far.
Well, you take pretty much any person you know that doesn't go to church, but they seem like decent people.
Yeah.
You can pretty much guarantee that there's an aunt or a grandmother or someone who is a church-going person who instilled those original values in them.
From that.
It came
Even
from
those that are they're 100% atheists. Go back 2-3 generations. Their moral upbringing back then through faith has trickled down to them. It's waning.
Well, yeah,
it's starting to fall apart.
Yeah, they know what they're turning away from.
Exactly.
They understand it. They say that even an atheist is less likely to tell a lie up to 4 hours after hearing a prayer.
Oh, wow.
So that impact of that goodness, and when you take all that out of society, it's a great movie, and I throw it around all the time because I love it. Yeah. But a great scene from a movie, Moby Dick, and it's 1954, I believe, and it's Orson Welles who's playing Father Mapples, and he gives the speech in the pulpit, which is the bow of a ship, but he talks about Jonah being in the belly of the whale, and that he comes out of the whale and he fights all sin, and he stands forth his own inexorable self, and he plucks the lies from behind the robes of senators and judges, and it's this powerful speech. But it's a remarkable speech, but it was unremarkable for an actor to do that. Today, he'd probably be shunned by the industry. Yeah. I mean, he'd be like a Kevin Sorbo, where he'd have to go and make his own movies to portray a minister with that kind of conviction and how much he led the congregation, what he meant to those people, that were living there in this harsh time of these whaling villages where people died all the time. But they looked to him for comfort and to make sense of it all. Yeah. And I just thought, man, if you, I don't think you can do that today. And in those days too, people would still watch the movie and go, well, I didn't like that part too much. But people liked the movie, and that was all part of it, because that was part of our society back then.
Exactly.
So I grew up in Winnipeg, and I went to St. Alphonsus till I was 18. I moved out here, and I went from the Catholic church. I'm at a church in Crescent Beach, and it's an Anglican church. But it
was the Catholic Church there.
Well, that's it.
A few years ago.
I know.
Exactly.
Well, and a miracle to it was a Catholic family that kept it there for us, which is fantastic. Yeah. But I really missed the Mass, and I found that started drifting around a bit. But there's still something about that faith that stays with you. Yeah. There's still something about those. I think about every time my dad dragged me to church, and he did drag me.
He did.
But I got something out of it. And there was things instilled in me that don't go. I was thinking this morning driving in here, I thought, we always use that word moral compass. Yeah. You have a moral compass. Well, what is the compass leading you to? It's leading to something center, right? Exactly. Something that grounds you, right? But I thought, imagine if you went camping and every day you got up and you didn't know where you were and you had to get your compass out again. So you're there for a week, and every day you started all over again, trying to find north, and you're trying to find this. You learn nothing every day, and you just keep going, walking out and having this struggle to find yourself. And I really think this is when I was thinking about the Catholic schools, is that you take that away. You teach them how to use that compass once, kind of thing. The compass is there, so they're not starting every day trying to figure who I am and what am I doing here. That's set. Now you can learn. Yeah. Right. You've got this basis, the teachings of Christ. They're right there. That part's done. Now go conquer the world. Yeah. Take that with you. Yeah. And you'll know what your values are. And you'll know, not only when you're doing right, but you also know when you're doing wrong. Yeah. And that, I think, is one of the big ones.
It's huge. Yeah. It's massive. You know, as we say, and we're sending out kids into the world as strong servant leaders that can go out, that can lead society, that can contribute to society, that can give back to society. Yeah. And which kind of brings that full circle back to the whole maid thing. We are to be humble. It is pride is a sin. It's a cardinal sin. It's a bad one. It's a nasty one. And as we get older, we have to rely on others more. As we get,
Yes.
you know, that's humbling, number one. And number two, it is our last, as our parents get older and eventually they need to be taken care of and they die, they're teaching us the last lessons in life.
Yes.
That it's not about me, it's about others. And it's about them, it's about our parents, it's about taking care of them. You know, and you brought up the Sikh families, how, and you so often you see those parents aren't in homes. They're in their home.
Yes.
Right till the very end, you know, and we have.
And they're helping right to the end.
And they're
too.
helping, yeah.
Because my mother-in-law was 87, 88.
Yeah.
And she struggled, but she would do, when you came home, she the dishes were done. And I knew, and it might take her 3 hours. Of those dishes were going to be in the cupboard when you got home.
And it gives people a sense of purpose, a sense
Absolutely.
of meaning. That family being around them, it is so important. And those life lessons,
Yes.
that are being lost by maid,
Yeah.
where it's like, no, it's my duty to take care of my mom or my dad.
Yeah.
You know, as they gave to me, now I'm giving to them.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing this right, I'm also showing my kids that how important it is to take care of your parents.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. You know, it's one of those things, honor your mother and your father and right till the end,
Right.
you know, and no, maid, we're just going to go, bing.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it's my life. You know,
Yeah.
why would I want to go and see you every week or twice a week or every day? Why would I do that, you know, when I got to live my life, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not about taking care of you as you get old and fade away.
But let's go back to what you said about, like, you talked about these kids that are struggling with their identity. Once they're gone, you can't get it back. Once you're gone,
Yeah.
you go, oh, geez, maybe I did that too fast.
Yeah.
Kind of miss mom. Even though she was struggling, I kind of still miss going and holding her hand and telling her I love her.
It's permanent.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's
over.
gone.
You
It's
called the
gone.
shot.
Yeah.
You know?
It's because
I went to catechism. I didn't get to go to
You didn't go to school.
Catholic school, no.
Yeah.
And I don't think, look at, the choice in those days was nothing like the choice it is today.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't, you know, you could go, you might not go, okay, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the public schools were nothing like they are now. This is bizarre.
No.
Mind you, of course, I'm talking ancient times.
I know. Way back when I was early in elementary school, they were still saying the Lord's Prayer in public school.
Oh, I know. I was there. We wore uniforms.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I was in Winnipeg.
We didn't wear uniforms.
I only had it for about 2 years.
Yeah.
But we had uniform that you wore to school.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Everybody's the same. You know.
Well, you take that off the table.
You take it off the table. Nobody's like, oh, this guy's got that cool pants or these cool shirts or whatever, and everybody's the same.
It's funny. We were talking about the anti-bullying day.
Yeah.
Who's pro-bullying? I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure we need one day for that. But I really felt this year, and I'm talking with some of my co-members in the party and saying that, what about Golden Rule Day? What about a day where we say to the bullies, why don't you stop?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to just protect these kids. We're going to stop you before you start thinking, how about do unto others as you would have them do unto you? How about that? Let's start there. Because every religion has that.
Yeah.
Right. That's natural law. That's everyone taught. Even atheists kind of look and go, well, if I do that to them, they can do it to me.
But that came from Christianity.
Of course. No, but
Yes.
even rationally, you look at that and go, well, if I do that, they'll do this. And I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get me wrong.
This hurt. That hurt. It's like, oh, well, if I do that to them, that's going to hurt as well.
And of course, I believe that is what God's law, Christ's law says. It's a very natural law.
Yeah.
It's not unnatural at all.
No.
So the idea, but I mean, I believe Sikhs have that you share sort of with everyone. I'm a friend to all. Like, so it's a respect for all and a friend to all. So I really believe that let's have a day in pushing that. Let's have a day where we say we look into the hearts of these people who are bullies, because they're always there.
Right.
Like, there's so many reasons to get bullied. I mean, people think that there's the LGBTQ and it's an issue.
Yeah.
But you can be too short, you can be too skinny, you can be too fat, you can have red hair, you can have white hair, you can be, you can have an overbite, you can wear glasses. There's something you're going to get picked on for.
I felt out of place because I was too tall.
Yeah.
Literally. I'm a 6'6" minority.
Yeah. No.
there's not a lot of people that are that tall or over.
That's right.
You can't, I don't wear that like a badge, obviously, but I
No,
mean, it's one
but
of
it's true. No, that and the
we're
other
all
part is-
minorities in one way, shape, or form.
Well, and who knows? You could have a kid walk into school that's the perfect height and the perfect build, and he walks in and he has a lisp. And the minute that starts, it's over for him.
Yeah.
That's all he has to do that once, or
Yeah.
Oh God, I mean, show up to school one day with your, with a piece of toilet paper sticking out of your pants or something, and that's it.
And you're done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're TP boy for the for the remainder.
TP Brent forever.
Oh, it doesn't stop. I didn't do that actually. No, but in truth, I think and in those days, like I said, when we were going to school, you didn't have this division. This division wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get that. I mean, I think the public schools are going to have a lot of work to do. Maybe that's where you look at a voucher where people say they get to pick what they want to do, right? What would happen? What would happen to the public schools if you did that? If parents could send their kids? Because I had a friend of mine told me that he wanted to go back to Dubai. He said, I'm scared that I'm scared of what can happen to my daughter at school. I'm nervous about that. And I've never felt like that about this country.
Yeah. No, I know it's crazy.
So we know there's good people. When there's 140 people that are trying to get their kids into
20 spots,
into kindergarten.
Yeah, in kindergarten.
I mean, we're not, we're talking about people that understand the problem early and they want to address this.
Yeah, they're looking around going like, this is not what I want for my kids.
The funny word they use all the time is they always talk about the climate. They talk about sustainable.
Yeah.
Right? But this isn't culturally sustainable.
No.
And they do so many things that aren't economically sustainable. I mean, if you want to be sustainable, it's not just the environment. There's lots of things we have to worry that we can do for a long time.
Yeah.
And we can play out over a long period. And what's going to be the effect? You can't say that it's getting better. I mean, now they say there's less crime because, nobody reports it anymore. Back in the day, if somebody stole a rake out of your yard, you'd phone the police and say, "Got a really nice rake there. Picked up Canadian Tire. What am I getting?" And then the police would actually bring it back to you the other day. Well, we found up the road a bunch of kids must have been
3 kids.
around.
Yeah. No, I remember my bike getting stolen when I was a kid and getting it back. Yeah, went through the police station and everything, and I ended up getting it back. And
did you have to get a license for your bike back in the day? Do you remember that?
No. They were like play licenses if we had them hanging off the back seat.
Yeah, in Winnipeg, you would actually go to the local East Kildonan was where I live, and there was a municipal office there.
You had to get a bike
and
license?
You went and get your bike license to have
Really?
you had a license in your bike, like number 178 or whatever it was. And I thought,
No.
it was probably $2 or something to get your bike, or $1.35. But what a great practice for a kid to take that responsibility for them to walk down, go into the office, and wait your turn, and buy your license, sign your name down there, put your address down, and you ride your bike. Off you go.
I just see it as more government overreach. We don't need that, Brent.
Well, but here's the thing. But if bikes are going to ride on the sidewalk, I would really love the idea that I can look down and go, 583.
Oh, yeah. To reckon, yeah.
Right?
And we're going to pull kids over on their bikes because they don't have their license plate displayed properly.
Well, no, but listen, I'm not sure if all government is bad. I'm not sure
of course it isn't.
And I don't know.
Of course it isn't. We've just been living in extreme here for a while.
That's it. So if you bring it back to something where you're I think there was a time when you went down to the office and you went down to the city hall, there were people smiling to wait and greet you and see how you're doing. And now, I mean, gosh, now you can't go. Now it goes online. And for seniors, I think, my gosh, for seniors to have to go online.
Yeah, I know.
What a chore that is.
Yeah, it's a tough thing.
I can barely see any of these.
Yeah.
People send me a text when I'm driving, and I pull over, I'm like trying to look at this thing. I can't hold it.
It's not fun getting old, Brent.
I know I can't hold it far enough away. I got to learn to hold it with my toes.
That's good stuff. Well, that's a good note to end on there, I think, as we digress into talking about holding our glasses with our toes. Brent, thank you. For coming out and for enlightening us in terms of what you're doing, what your thoughts are, what your background is, who you are. That's all wonderful stuff. I think everybody needs to hear that, and I'm glad that you're in support of what we've got going in South Surrey with our Catholic schools.
This party supports that independent school. It supports independent schools because it, like you said, for all the things that you said and more as to what it means to society, what it means just to education right now, and taking up that tremendous volume that's able to do, but also the type of citizens that come from these schools with a mandate to build those kind of individuals. I know John Rustad is someone who spoke about it quite passionately, and we've got a party that would be behind the Catholic schools and behind schools of faith, that we're there.
What would be great is to have you and John Rustad come to the site, come to the new campus, and actually do a walkthrough. That'd be great.
I won't promise for him, but I'll do my best.
You for sure, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be great because it's something that we get a video shot there too, and it'll help promote. He can have a great chance to say to a lot of people, a lot of the followers out there, that hey, this is a good thing that this school's going. We're doing the right thing for the community. So
yeah, well, that's God bless you for doing that.
Well, that invite's there.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brent. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Catholic Education Matters. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the podcast on your favorite listening platform, rate it, and also leave a review. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family to help spread the word about the impact of Catholic education. Be sure to listen again.